breaking free. Yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression. It's out for liberty. Breaking free. Yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts. We're reclaiming our land. They try to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting louder, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. They try to silence us, but we won't be tamed. Voices getting louder, can't keep us in chains. We got the power, we got the might. Together we can shine, together we can fight. Feel the rhythm in your feet, it's time to stand tall. Raise your voice and shout, we're breaking down the walls. We're breaking free, yeah, we're breaking free. No more oppression, it's out for liberty. Breaking free, yeah, we're taking a stand. Freedom's in our hearts, we're reclaiming our land. We're claiming our land.
I hate this show. Oh my goodness.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Are You Smarter Than a Politician? This is your gateway drug to liberty. Tonight, who decides who can speak, bank, build, work, own property, and access information? Tonight, we're exploring the institutions, regulators, financial networks, and digital systems that increasingly stand between Americans and opportunity. Joining us are three notable political minds who spend a lot of time thinking about who the new gatekeepers are and how much power they should have. So get ready, because tonight you decide who is smarter than a politician. Joining us again, my buddy, Steve Nekhaila. He is the former chair of the Libertarian Party. He's currently an at-large member on the LNC. He's the host of the new podcast, Try Liberty, which you can find at tryliberty.org. And his personal X is at Stephen Nekhaila. How are you tonight, Stephen?
Good. Can't complain. Thanks for having me on. I think this is my fifth show. I'm not sure, but I appreciate it as always. Thanks for being at our convention. It was a fun time, great weekend. It was all blur to me, but I'm 2 weeks into a month into retirement here from the chair position. New life ahead of me, and I'm happy to be on. So thanks again.
That's awesome. Tell us about the show.
The Try Liberty show, or
your show.
Yeah, so we interview, we've interviewed Lynn Ulbricht, a couple other really interesting guests, have a variety of topics from crypto to privacy, surveillance, freedom, and we have Amon Bundy coming on Monday, so that'll probably be out in a few weeks. So if you want to check it out, hit up Try Liberty. It's after the Frederick Bastiat quote, Try Liberty, at the end of one of his books. So it's a great time. Alex is the producer of the show. And, we'll get some more great guests on there for people to bite into. So looking forward to growing the podcast and spreading liberty. Should be fun.
Awesome. I'm really enjoying it. So you're doing a great job with it. My show, incidentally, is also by a Bastiat quote. So I named it after that as well. So, all right. Next up, Dan Behrman. He's the author of Crash the Fed and Taxation is Theft, How Politicians Rob You Blind. Boy, I messed up both those. And you can find them spelled correctly and said correctly at danforfreedom.com. And his X is Dan for Texas. How are you tonight, Dan?
I'm doing awesome. I haven't seen any feds today. No government interaction. I bought some Bitcoin on the black market, 3D printed some stuff. It's been a nice day.
There you go.
Tell
us what you're up to.
Oh, man. I'm working on the next book, Money is a Promise. There's a couple other books I have kind of taken notes, getting in the works. I'm also tonight sponsored by themif.org. That is THEMIF.org. It's a nonprofit that I work for. I think they keep calling me and asking me to do stuff because that's what Thomas Queter does. I don't even work there. I'm just I'm doing stuff because that's what liberty's all about. We help people. He's making some open source wheelchair stuff, and like I'm kind of in the maker space, I guess. I've been 3D printing stuff. I do a lot of software, but yeah, it's a fun project. So I have to say I'm sponsored by, because I like the openness of, you know, where's the money coming from in our politicians, right? So
Absolutely. And they're going to be on later this month, and they're trying to raise money though. So if you go to themif.org, you can donate there. And everybody knows how much we all love Thomas Queter on this show, and just got my foot run over by him about 38 times in Grand Rapids.
Nice.
So that was a good time. And apparently he groped me because he posted that the other day. So that was nice that he put that on X.
That wasn't an accident. And there's no L in MIF. It's MIF. There's no L in themif.org.
Oh my God. Yeah, if you mistype that one, you're going somewhere else. That's for sure. So awesome.
I tried to tell him to fit an extra word in that acronym, but yeah, he wasn't going for it.
He just doesn't listen, you know. And last
it
but
helps
not
that you
least,
sorry. Yes, my name is Alex Vidal. What's up?
Yeah, Alex Vidal. He is the media ringmaster. He is the producer of the Try Liberty podcast. Their X is at Try Liberty on YouTube, Spotify. He's also a rapper extraordinaire, which I checked out and enjoyed the hell out of today, and Amity loved it too. They're called Free Nauts, and that's Free Nauts, NAUTS.com. And there's his X there for both. How are you tonight, Alex?
I'm awesome. Happy Friday, you guys. Oh, happy Juneteenth. That's a thing, right? We can say that. No, I was gonna say it helps. The MILF reference was funny. It helps that he looks like Stifler. This guy's name is actually Taxation is Theft. I'm intimidated. You guys are like real politicians, and usually this show is just like be smarter than a libertarian, which is hard in and of itself. But no, yeah, thanks for inviting me. This should be a good time, and let's do this. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, tell us about your projects.
Oh, so yeah, like you said, the Try Liberty podcast, our host with the most, Stephen Nekhaila. Now that he's not hurting all the cats at the Libertarian Party, we're going to start, really banging out some powerful weekly interviews, which, like you mentioned, we've already begun rolling out. Aaron Day just did a great episode. We've got Ammon Bundy coming on. So I'm producing that show. Like you mentioned, doing a little bit of music every now and then when I, find a reason to come out of retirement with that. But just, having fun with my kid and living free.
And, awesome. And he works for the LP. I don't know if he wants that to be known or not, but he's one of our media guys. So he does a lot in the back end. So I appreciate it.
Awesome. And last but not least, she will not be a contestant tonight. The lovely Terry Batts. How are you, Terry?
Very glad that I'm not a contestant tonight. How are you guys doing out there? Looking forward to this. I know it's going to be fun. I know we're going to have some laughs, and I know we're going to learn a few things, as always. But I want to let the chat know that there's something going on with X, and I can't post out right now. But I still love you. I still see you. Please share it out, and welcome everybody. Glad to see you.
Awesome. Thanks, Terry. And our Friday night shows are sponsored by Xano. If you're tired of surveillance coins dressed up as freedom tech, Xano is the real deal. Open source, enterprise-grade privacy, scalable and secure. Build, spend, and tokenize any asset without the peeping eyes. Xano isn't just private. It's none of their business. And if you're new to this space, visit intro.xano.org to learn how Xano gives you the power to own your own data, your money, and your assets, all in one simple, secure platform built for the real world. Thank you, Xano. And thank you to all of our subscribers. We have a new one today, Sandy Counter. She's on the bottom right there. And so welcome. And also Jonathan Miller got into a little bit of X trouble. So his handle changed. So that's right above Sandy's, right in the bottom right there. Please follow both of them. Thank you to all of our subscribers. You too can subscribe on X if you'd like to. And if you want to sponsor the show, email studio@freedomuncut.com. And July 8th through 11th, we will be in Vegas for Freedom Fest. You can register for that at freedomfest.com. Use the discount code SPIKE100 so our friends at You Are the Power get credit for it. We will be taking part in their area at Freedom Fest, so that's going to be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to that. And then in August, The 6th through the 9th will be in Lake Satoshi, Michigan for Midwest Peace and Liberty Festival, and that's mplfest.org. Hope to see you guys at both of those. And I don't need to do that because it's in the slides. So I handled the business. So let's jump into the chat and say hello to everybody. Ryan Woodcraft's here, a subscriber. What's up, beautiful people? Great lineup. 200 to Dan because of Texas. LP El Paso is here. What's up? Wait Slowdown is here. Slowdown is here. Let's try Liberty. Excellent. Waz is here. What's up, Waz? That's Rob Yates at the LPNC handle. What's up, buddy? Travis is here from Appalachian Liberty and the Great Object Podcast. What's up, buddy? Stone Cold Steve Nekhaila is better than Stone Cold Steve Austin. 100 points. Great point, Woodcraft. Liberty Shamrocker's here. 100 to Dan for freedom and for filling my bookshelves. Was that consensual, or did he just bring a bunch of stuff by and just slap stuff on your bookshelf? 100 to Dan for the Queeter name drop. Amity's here. What's up, Amity? 200 to Dan for pre-gaming in the chat with us. 200 to free. I got my other car as a Killdozer shirt today. Oh, that might be Jonathan Miller. What's up, Jonathan? 200 to Alex for Spittin' Liberty. Love the rapping. Yeah, check out his stuff. It's on Spotify. It's really good. Or no, SoundCloud. It's on SoundCloud. You can find it in his link. Terry's my favorite. Excellent, Chief. 112 to Nekhaila for being a good dude. Steven Nekhaila is better than Steve Austin. We got the twice. Jim Lee's here. What's up? And 118 Alex because Ryan Woodcraft is a psychopath. Okay. Oh boy. It's getting feisty already in the chat. All right. Welcome again. Share this out. Please help bust the algorithm. Hopefully now that the war is over for the 40th time, they'll stop suppressing me on X, but I doubt it. I am on X at Smarter Game Show. Terry is Bats T76, helping behind the scenes. Amity Lee 13, and host of the They Both Suck podcast, Casey, who is at American versus Gov. You can find our swag at freedomsuperstore.com, just like Jonathan Miller did. I am wearing the Taxation is Theft shirt in honor of my buddy Dan, and we also have cool mugs as well. You can find our clips on YouTube at Freedom Uncut. We're also on Rumble. All right, so let's get down to the prizes. The grand prize, because Trump made peace prizes suck, we wanted to make our own. So we have the Are You Smarter Than a Peace Prize. We also have Mike Johnson's signature cologne Swamp Ass, as well as the Ayn Rand Fountainhead Teddy Bear. We have an assortment of libertarian bobbleheads. And of course, we have the UFC White House set. But because it's from the White House, you have to actually purchase the figures separately. And we have the Peace Talk Smoke Machine. It causes dramatic headlines while hiding the same outcome because peace isn't profitable. And then in honor of Juneteenth, we have the manufactured outrage generator. All you do is input Juneteenth and it generates your outrage so you can get social media points for being outraged about stupid nonsense. And we've got some new games. We've got the Trump 5D chess set. He plays 5D chess while Americans get checkers. And you can see all the ways you can play that there. We also have the false flag football. The more they play, the more we pay. They turn lies into justification for war. And of course, we have Grand Theft Oil, same pretenses, real profits. The Federal Reserve Magic 8 Ball, no matter how many times you shake it, it just says print more money. And of course, we have the Trump Nativity set because we can't get rid of this thing and it's almost July. And then we've got the Lego Killdozer because nobody talks about the Killdozer more than me and Casey do. Here are the rules. I am the government. Whatever I say goes. Scoring errors count. Life isn't fair. Suck it up, Buttercup. Nobody cares. Here's how scoring works. The chat controls the score. They can give or take up to 100 points from contestants. And because I am the government and I believe in crony capitalism, subscribers can give or take up to 200 points because they pay me, so they matter more. All right, let's get into it here. We'll put Terry in the back. She handles the chat and the score. Thank you, Terry. All right, first question of the night to you, Steve. Category is surveillance society. Should surveillance powers be rolled back?
Yes, surveillance powers should be rolled back to zero. We have the flock cameras all over the country. That's just one small component of the surveillance state. I know in the Florida Keys, you have cameras that'll analyze your license plate, and if that car's not registered to a U.S. citizen, they will pull you over, because any area within 100 miles of the ocean or any border is considered a anti-Fourth Amendment zone. So they can just pull you over for without probable cause for a lot of reasons. It includes the entire state of Florida and Hawaii and a lot of other seaboard states. So not only should we abolish the NSA, not renew FISA, we should abolish the entire federal and local surveillance apparatus and replace it with nothing as quickly as possible, because all those fancy tools are going to be used against you, even though they say it's against foreign adversaries or targets. It's going to be used against us, and I hope we all share the same FEMA camp. It'll be fun.
Totally. Maybe we can be roommates. Make it even worse for you. All right, Dan, to you. Is mass surveillance out of control?
Oh, no, it's actually doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing. Maybe it's out of control from the public, and I have some proposals maybe we should do. So every time they put up one of those flock cameras in our neighborhood, we need to make sure that they're equally distributed within the politicians' neighborhoods. And we also need to make sure that we have, as the owners of all these cameras, the people who the government supposedly represents, have complete access to these cameras 24/7, so that we can spy on the politicians just as they're spying on us. It's only fair. I mean, they work for us, right? So it's, like you don't walk into a bar and like the employers are spying on the employees to make sure they don't steal from the till, but the employees don't get to spy on the owners, because that's just not how it works. So I think we just need to it's there, it's working. Let's just fix it so it's done right in our favor.
I like it. Those are good proposals. I'll allow them. All right, Alex, to you. Are citizens losing anonymity?
Let's go. All right. I think I just decided I'm going to try something. I don't know if this has ever been done, but you guys probably, everybody always agrees with each other on the show. I'm going to, no, citizens are not losing anonymity. And if they are, that's a good thing, because if you have something to hide, then maybe they should be looking at your data, and we all need to be mass surveilled for our protection. It's for our own good. Obviously, you guys are weird that you're into privacy, and I am sending the cops to your doors at the end of the night. So no, we're not losing anonymity, but if we are, then it's a good thing.
Yeah, we're 106 shows in. People have tried the counter tactic on it, so but it might work. It might work. There might be some people in there that think that they want Lindsey Graham watching their every move. You never know. It could happen. All right, Steve, back to you. The category is free speech in the digital age. Is free speech weaker today than 20 years ago?
Let's see, 20 years ago, we were several years into 9/11, and a lot of the programs that were prior to 9/11 sped up, along with a lot of new ones, including the creation of the DHS, which consolidated and transformed a lot of things that we had, made it harder to protest, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I remember back in the day, and I was having this conversation with one of our guests, it was kind of sexy when you saw protesting and like that Alex Jones sort of We Are Change era that sort of came up as a grassroots movement. Now we literally have the Department of Homeland Security using that exact same type of footage, but pro-government propaganda. So it's very clear that the government doesn't want you protesting. They definitely don't want you to look good while you do it, and they will frame it in a way to make you look like the bad guy. And not only that, but you also have free speech laws now for certain groups. So if you talk bad about Israel or have a bad comment, about certain things, then Miami Beach police will show up to your door, which actually happened to some folks in Florida. And so free speech is under attack. That's why, as Ron Paul said, we don't have free speech to talk about the weather. So use it. I know in Russia, you don't see a lot of protests in Russia, not because they're all Putin sympathizers, but because they get shut down. And as a matter of fact, the Libertarian Party of Russia, after 2021 or 2022, when the invasion happened, most of those folks had to leave the country because they were getting arrested. So we're not too far off here. Maybe a decade behind, maybe less, maybe even less than that. But free speech is definitely under attack, including digitally and and otherwise. And the government is certainly willing to use our free speech against us. So we need to keep using it, and we need to use it wisely while we still can.
Definitely agree. All right, Dan, to you. Has fear of cancellation changed public debate?
I want to say yes. I think definitely it has. But there's an interesting side to this. So a lot of people are all about free speech. Free speech is great, and yeah, in general it is. But at the same time, like, being able to say whatever you want kind of gives us the opportunity to be like, well, I said what I wanted to say. Now I'm going to go home and do absolutely nothing about it. And so I think on one hand, saying certain things is like, it's great to kind of vent. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really do anything. It doesn't make politicians afraid of you or the public in general, let's just say, especially in Minecraft. But a lot of people aren't going to actually get up and do anything until they hit a breaking point. And if you give them this opportunity to just like, oh yeah, submit your complaints, and then people are going to go submit their complaints and be like, yeah, maybe next season, maybe next election, we'll get the right people in, and just the right people will change just the right things, and things will get better. But that's not going to happen. So yes, this is definitely affecting things. But on the other hand, maybe we need to see some hard times before we see some good times.
Here's hoping. All right, Alex, to you. Is online speech the new free speech battleground?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, we had the Twitter files a few years ago when Elon then stepped in and kind of fixed that, but now it has probably some new problems still there, and that's why I think these sort of like futuristic solutions are going to be like decentralized social media, right? We could actually use blockchain for more than just financial transactions, but we can actually have like Twitter on chain. Like, people have built these types of things before, and so yeah, people. I mean, look what just happened the other day with the Fauci revelations or whatever. We already knew this stuff, but this is like what the social media platforms were censoring people for a few years ago, and now they're like, oh, it's all true. So yeah, that's the new battleground. And yeah, I guess I'll retire that old strategy. But I did fix my mic, I think.
Maybe a little worse, actually.
Damn it. All right. Anyway, next. I relinquish my time.
There you
Good
go.
enough for government work.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Stephen, back to you. Categories: who controls information? Do a handful of institutions control too much information?
That's an interesting question, because I mean, yes, we've had just a handful of corporations that were made up the mainstream media, and we saw that turn into a monopoly on information. There's a reason why Pfizer and Moderna and all these companies advertise in the mainstream media, because you can't talk about them. You can't talk bad about your advertisers. So not to mention Operation Mockingbird, where the CIA goes into these organizations, journalistic firms, things like that, takes over editorial positions. They did it back in the 20th century. I'm sure they still do it today, even though they say they don't. I don't believe them. Now it's very interesting is you have the rise of the influencer class. So you have people freelancing, and then we're finding out that they're being paid. The so-called alternative media is turning into this kind of quasi mainstream media apparatus that the government and political players and people with money are realizing you can influence to sway public opinion in this sort of organic kind of way. And we've seen it turn from, this organic grassroots type of media reporting to this sort of machine that's infiltrated TikTok, X, YouTube, and it could be your favorite influencer. It could be some, people that you look up to, and they could be getting paid. So once again, we see that media capture, and it's really hard to decipher what's real and what's not. And I think that's why it's so important to be self-actualized and read books and actually consider these issues and form your own opinions, because no matter what, the powers that be are going to try to find a way to poison the well. So I think it's I think it's still captured. Podcasters, independent media, even mainstream media. There's not that many left. that's why you got to go back in history, read your books, and form your own opinions. So we haven't transcended the problem.
Good tips. All right, Dan, to you. Is information control more powerful than political control or political power?
I think they're almost one and the same, or there's definitely a big overlap. So like a lot of so for example, right, you want to get a bank account, you got to give them your social security number. And this is tied into a bunch of other systems. And for those who, some people know, some people don't know, there's this company called National Public Data. And whenever you apply for credit or a bank account and they ask you, which one of these people have you ever lived with? Which one of these streets have you ever lived on? This is basically anytime you've applied for credit, had a bank account, anything else, they combine all this data into this database, and that database was leaked. So now it's all over the dark web and your information's all out there. But when you go to get a new bank account, what do you have to give them? Your social security number. Well, that's already out there, right? And a lot of banks, they don't do this now, but they used to just say, oh, you forgot your account number? Well, give me your social security number. We'll look it up, right? So this number, this identifying number became your access key to a lot of your accounts. Now they've changed that now. And of course you have to show a photo ID for a lot of this stuff, but photo IDs are easy to fake. So what does the government do? The government says, oh, well, we'll create other systems. We'll make digital systems so the banks can now verify the photo IDs. Okay, but what if you're from another country, or what if you're from somewhere outside of that jurisdiction? All kinds of problems come from this, but ultimately what happens is all of your accounts and everything you have is controlled now by the government's issuance of your ID. And if at any point the government decides to revoke that, you completely lose access to your stuff, which is absolutely insane. And I know most people don't think, oh, that's never going to happen to me. I'm not a criminal. I'm not even on their lists, and they're right. It's not going to happen to a vast majority of people, but it is going to happen to a lot of people. We've already seen it happen to innocent people. And the fact that they have this is just like, it's insane. We shouldn't be giving this information to banks. We should literally be able to walk into banks and be like, this is my name, give me an account number. And if anyone ever comes in, they have to have this secret code or else they can't access the account. What's more secure than that? And if the bank wants to take your picture and keep it on record, they can keep a photo ID of you. They don't need to use a government ID, but these systems are not in place. They say it's in place for, anti-money laundering and for your security and all this other stuff. But the reality is no, it's there to track your accounts and associate that not with your social security number, not with your identity, but with a taxpayer account. So if there's ever any taxes due, they can seize those assets without even going through a court because it's associated with a taxpayer number, not with a social security number, with a taxpayer number. So they're using a lot of this information to actually cheat the system and bypass due process and gain quicker access to our assets. So they have this like false sense of security that they've given a lot of people, but it's absolute nonsense. And they've blocked most people from getting out of those systems or getting around those systems at all. And we need to start pushing back because our lives are in their hands and their hands keep getting hacked.
Very true. All right, Alex, to you. Are independent voices being squeezed out?
Not really. Honestly, I'm gonna take a probably counterintuitive answer on this one. I just think there's not enough good ones right now. I think that the marketplace is pretty fair when it comes to these days. Ever since Justin Bieber got discovered on YouTube or whatever, like anybody can make it. Like I've been waiting to see like who's like the libertarian answer to Nick Fuentes, because this guy's gonna like take over the world if nobody stops him. Say what you will, but they're not really being squeezed out. Yeah, sure, there's like gatekeeping and stuff, but I think for the most part, the talented people who have the drive to get their voices out there, all the tools are available. There's never been an easier time in history to go from like a nobody in your mom's basement to like the most popular person on the internet like in no time. So that's just like my challenge to everybody. Get out there and do the damn thing. Write some good words and speak them. Put yourself on camera like Steven and all you other guys who have libertarian podcasts. More libertarian podcasts, please. Thank you.
This is a spare bedroom, not my mom's basement, just for the record. I just want to point that out. All right. Back to you, Stephen. Categories: decentralization versus centralization. Is centralization the root cause of most political problems?
Is centralization the root cause of most political problems? I mean, I think the government being involved in most things, even if it is decentralized, is the root of most political problems. So I'm not even sure how much decentralization. Now, decentralization of something like, for instance, education, which is becoming increasingly more popular, to the most local level possible, which would be your county or municipal level, I think it makes a lot of sense as a policy. But I think from a libertarian perspective, we want to take it a step further and decentralize it to the free market, because ultimately the market is the best arbiter of decentralization. There's a reason, Bernie Sanders is always complaining about, why do you have 27 brands of toilet paper? Well, it's a good thing that we do, and not just one. And it makes the market cheaper. It makes it better, increases supply, lowers prices, et cetera, et cetera. So, if you took something like money and said, well, we don't like the Federal Reserve, so we're going to have the Florida dollar instead of the US dollar, it might be marginally better. It might be, worth more. It might be printing less, but it's still federal. It's still a government monopoly on that product. You could take it a step further and say, well, we'll just do it at the municipal level. Well, again, there's issues. And like Dan pointed out, anytime you have the government involved in things, you just don't have an efficient way to address the challenges, or they come too late. And, there's always monopolies and things of that nature. So, yes, centralization, especially DC, is a huge issue when it comes to uniform um, uh, everything that happens at the state level, when it comes to education, when it comes to defense, when it comes to policing and other things, disaster response, so on and so forth. The feds just don't do it well as the local levels can do it in most cases. But I think ultimately, as libertarians, we want to see the complete eradication of these institutions in many cases, and let the free market deal with true decentralization, which is giving the power back to the individual to come up with solutions, and we'll have many different ones, and we'll compete to see what's best or what's right for us.
I like it. All right, Dan, to you. Should power be moved closer to the people?
Absolutely. I want all the power for myself. Yeah, absolutely. This is the core principle of freedom, right? Like, the power has to be in your hands, or else you're not free. Because if it's not closer to you, it's further away from you. It's closer to somebody else. And usually it's closer to somebody else who doesn't know you, doesn't care about you. And yeah, I started asking people this question because they're always like, oh, let's pay our taxes and let the government do their thing. And it's like, okay, they're going to do their thing. So you got these politicians who are voting on these bills. Do you think that these politicians are thinking about you when they make their decisions? But then also make this consideration, because like, oh, but they're politicians, they're a different class. If I were to give you $1,000, what would you do with it? And I ask this to people, and they're usually like, oh, well, I'd feed the homeless, or I'd pay some school teachers, or all these great causes they do. And then I ask, well, if I'm giving you $1,000 to do something good for the world, why wouldn't you ask me what I thought you should do? Because maybe what I thought is something different than what you thought, and maybe it's still a good thing, but maybe I don't agree with what you're going to do, and so I'm not going to give you $1,000. Now, of course, the government position is, no, we're going to take that at gunpoint. And so what we're doing is we're saying, like, we're going to take power away from us and give it to people who live thousands of miles away, send it to the government, people who never met us, they're never going to shake our hands, they won't return our phone calls, and we can walk into their office and say, hey, I'd really like to meet with my representative, and they'll never, ever set you up a meeting unless you got some money. Let's give them power. That's the alternative, right? Doesn't sound that great to me. Let's bring the power back to the people.
I like it. And you heard it here. Dan is giving us all $1,000. So I'll take mine in Xano, Dan. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Alex, I'm going to try changing one of your audio settings real quick here and see if that fixes this. All right. Alex, to you, does centralization reduce accountability?
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is like one of my number one like libertarian arguments, is that like monopolies not only do they reduce accountability, right? Because quality goes down when there's no competition. You can't cancel your subscription with the IRS. Wish I freaking could, but I digress. Yeah, it also gets more expensive, right? They could just charge whatever the hell they want for all these services. So accountability would be so much better if we had decentralization. Decentralize all the things. Bada bing, bada boom. 100 points.
I knew you were going to work that in. Clever guy you are.
Let's
Excellent.
go.
All right.
Thank you.
Enter your scores in the chat if you've not done so already. Let's check out the chat. And we've got 100 to Dan for the taxation as theft hat. I'm seeing those all over the place, Dan. You're doing a good job with your marketing. No way, Dan. No cameras in my neighborhood. Go flock yourself minus 200 from Woodcraft. 97 to Dan for using Flock to spy on politicians. I love that. Swampcast is here. What's up? Minus 50 to Alex for that background. That was rude.
I see you, Mitch.
Why do you hate liberty?
Is Alex glitching minus 13, but 150 for sarcasm. 143 to Alex for the Monty Python style answer. 200 to Steven for the classic sepia tone lighting. I think he might just be naturally that color. I've seen him in person.
It's like when you go to Mexico. That's what happens when you go to Key West.
Yeah. Dan got 100 for being a myth. Jake Day's here. What's up, Jake? 200 to the white rapper. Nekhaila minus 4 for pandering with a Ron Paul reference, but 167 for a Ron Paul reference. So you netted positive there. 150 to Stone Cold for repping the birds, bottom right corner. If you haven't seen it yet, but now you can't unsee it. I don't see it. Papa B's here. What's up? 200 to Steven for saying to use your speech while you can. 100 to Dan for explaining talkers and doers. 200 to Dan for reminding us to do something in addition to just speaking. Sorry, Alex, I'll never lose my amity. We're friends. Minus 200 for pulling the reverse neocon method. Yeah, that's been tried before. Free is on X or Plur. Maybe. Minus 50 to Steven for the Larry Sharp answers, but 150 because it's educational. You're doing great, Alex. 200 first-time playa points. 200 to Dan for calling out the NPD. 100 to Dan for dissing on Social Security numbers. 100 to Dan for explaining Social Security cards and ID systems. 200 to Dan for being the taxation is theft ambassador. 100 to Dan for preaching to the choir. 200 to Dan, taxation is motherfucking theft. 200 to Alex for shouting out Justin Bieber. 100 to Alex if he finishes an answer. There we go with bada bing, bada boom. 100 to Dan for officially giving a longer-winded answer than Larry and Spike. Minus 50 to Alex for not recognizing that Free is the libertarian Justin Bieber. I did do a mean Ozzy Osbourne in karaoke with Amity at the National Convention. 200 to Steven. The government is the root of most problems. I am witnessing the largest government I've ever seen in my life, and they still try to call themselves Republicans. Yeah, they fake a lot of stuff. Heartland News is here. What's up? Big props to everyone who pushed for the release of Izzy. Yeah, 100%.
Nice.
Izzy is free. That's awesome. 100 to Dan for giving out $1,000. Yeah, you heard it here. We're all expecting it. I'll take mine in Zano. Minus 4 to Dan. If it's closer to someone else, it's further from you, unless you're a Siamese twin, Dan. That's fair. 100 to Dan for power to the people. 100 to Dan for your freedom comes from your power. 17 to Alex for making free do audio work. Yeah, that's tough for me. 100 to Alex, please cancel my subscription to the IRS. 100 to Alex for bada bing, bada boom. And Valerie's here. What's up, Valerie? 67 to everyone because it's that kind of day.
67.
And let's see. All right. And I screwed up. Now I'm pressing buttons I'm not supposed to be pressing and doing stuff that's just plain wrong. And let's check the scoreboard out. Dan is in first with 1560. Steven and Alex just behind with over 1,000 points each.
Hang it
Let's
on.
get back into it here.
Hold on, I gotta spam the group chats real quick. Let's go, people. Power to the
There
people.
we go. There we go. Get your
$500
people
per
in
point.
here. All right, back to it. Stephen, to you. Is government coercion legitimate? Is the category. Does government rely too much on force?
Well, I think government relies completely on force. As I said at convention, taxation is not only theft, it is extortion, because if you don't do what the government tells you to do, you will be arrested. And if you defy arrest, you will be beaten to a bloody pulp and thrown in a cage. So all government has, it has stolen. Every law is backed by a gun. And so, yes, government relies completely on force. The only reason or the only justification for government to exist is to protect, if it even is fit to exist, is to protect life, liberty, and property. Beyond that, I think everything the government does is not justified for it to do, and it does so behind the barrel of a gun. And if you take the more Rothbardian anarcho-capitalist standpoint and take it to the logical extreme, then nothing the government does is justified, because you cannot opt in or opt out of the state. So I believe in either a free market in government you can voluntarily opt into or out of, or just let the free market decide completely and abolish the institution entirely and have the free market replace it. So, yep, taxation is theft and extortion.
I agree. All right, Dan, to you. Is taxation a form of coercion?
Absolutely. And coercion is a form of theft. What else can I say about that? That's that. That's the very definition.
Do you have any hats or other merchandise that might complete that answer?
Yes.
There we go.
Absolutely.
And I thought I was teeing you up with a good one there, but I guess not. All right. All right. Alex, to you. Is consent missing from modern government?
It sure darn is. Yeah. I just posted the other day about this guy. Oh man, I almost already forgot his name. Auburn Herbert. I'm butchering it, but the originator of the theory of voluntarism. Basically, that the government should be voluntarily funded, and I think that that's the direction that we're heading. I think history has always increased towards more freedom. And I think especially with technology, we're building the tools basically to set ourselves free. And so we're going to make government obsolete in so many ways, which is really exciting. But right, now it is still non-consensual. I mean, nobody pays taxes, they take taxes. Am I right? Shout out to Chris Rock. And everyone who gives me points in the chat will get a surprise gift at the end. I'll share my earnings with you. But I already won because Dan followed me back on Twitter. So let's go.
There you go. Small goals. Let's do it. All right. Back to you, Steve. Category is voluntary society and anarchy. Is government necessary for order?
Interesting. So for many, many years, there was the steppes people or the barbarians, which were societies that exist within a social order. I wouldn't necessarily call it a government or a state per se. The feudal people, they existed under a lord specifically for their protection. And quite frankly, they actually had more rights than we do today, because the original forms of government, Leviathan and the law, was designed to protect life, liberty, and property. Today, that is not only far from the case, but we have seen through the 20th century and even much further back than that for thousands of years through Pharaoh and Rome and the American Empire and so on and so forth. What happens when government becomes more powerful, and what happens when it decides it doesn't like you or your rights? I think that I forget the original question here, but as far as government's existence or its power, I think it was the question about keeping order. Order is natural, so there's natural hierarchies that happen anytime you get a group of folks together. People are different, and they will naturally rise into a hierarchy. And government allows many times the worst people to get up into the hierarchy. So you have people like Lindsey Graham and Donald Trump and all these other folks that get into positions of power because of this Leviathan that we have. So we'd be much better served to be in a state of order through the free market, which is natural hierarchies and institutions, rather than the state.
All right. Dan, to you, is a voluntary society possible?
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, I have this really cool proposition for a voluntary society. So I believe that every ballot the government sends out should have, in every election for every single office, there should be, when we're electing a person, it should be an option for nota, right? Because especially if the power of the government or its authority to govern is derived from the consent of the governed, as the government itself claims is where it comes from, then that should be on the ballot, right? No, I don't want anybody in this office, right? But more importantly, every ballot, every election should have a ballot initiative, which is to dissolve the government, whether it's the federal, state, or local level. That option should be on there. Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking. Well, that's crazy. We shouldn't just put it up for a vote to dissolve the government. But hear me out. If it's crazy and that would never happen, what's the harm in putting it on the ballot? And if it's something that like can be used as a metric to determine like, are the politicians like, hey, these guys are really getting pissed off. We're approaching 49%. Maybe we should stop stealing from them and start giving them a little bit more freedom like they want. Maybe it says something. Maybe that's a little bit more important than, the freedom of speech, going out and protesting and then, for a day and then coming home and doing nothing else for the rest of the year. I think that is a really awesome idea. So that basically is, I mean, it's still not consent because you're still forced to participate in this, but there's an argument that because you participated in the election, it's just a little bit of consent. But it's like, if your options are so limited that you have to choose somebody to rule over you and there's no option to just say, no, you guys can fuck right off, then it's still not really consent. So if you want to pretend like it's consent, at least put an option there for some of us to say, no, go away, we're done with you.
I can't believe you keep propositioning me, but I guess it's no different than Queeter at the national convention. So it's fine.
He loves propositioning.
Yeah. All right. Alex, to you. Are people more capable of self-governance than politicians believe?
Yeah, obviously, politicians are always going to make it seem as if people are too dumb to govern themselves. And I mean, that might be true for some people, but that doesn't mean that like the rest of us need to be governed, right? Like a one size fits all approach to governance doesn't work. That's why the whole decentralization point is so important, right? When we have like competing, services for even things like police and courts, which blows a lot of people's, even libertarians' minds when you take it that far. But yeah, people are more than capable of governing themselves. In fact, we already do on a regular basis. Like, people love to say that like anarchy would like never work or whatever, but I'd like to say that it works every day. It works in your own lives. You know what I mean? Like the iPencil example, right? Like anarchy is all around us, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, I think we're a lot closer than you think. I agree with you. All right. Stephen, to you, the category is escaping the state. Should Americans be free to opt out of government systems?
Yes, actually, I believe Ron Paul tried to pass some legislation that would allow people under the age of 28 or 26 to opt out of Social Security. I think everybody should be able to opt out of any government system they'd like. A lot of people in Europe opt out of their health care by coming to the United States for medical treatment or going to other countries for medical treatment because it takes, a month to see the doctor or a year and a half to get a life-saving surgery. But they're bound to these systems. They have no way of opting out within the confines of their borders. So we should be able to opt out of the IRS. When you call the IRS, they thank you for being a valued customer, and they call it customer service, which is really hilarious. So if I'm a customer, I can just choose to not buy the product, right? Same thing goes with the draft. We should have a voluntary system of joining the military or not. That's how it's been for, well, not for always. We've had the draft before, and it seems like it's coming back. So every government system should have an opt-out mechanism. If I want to go live in Toyota City, I should be able to go live in Toyota City. But if I don't want to live under the U.S. federal government, I should be able to opt out of all its mechanisms and enforcements. Just like going through the airport now, And even though the TSA is unconstitutional and should not exist, you can opt out of the taking your photo and getting a photo, whatever biometrics taken. Everything should be optional, and you should be able to opt out unless you're, trying to murder somebody. Then I guess the government can or somebody can step in. But other than that, you should be able to opt out of all these government schemes, just like people are opting out of public school and doing private school or doing homeschooling, for instance. So this idea of opting out into things that actually work is becoming more and more popular. And I think we should. There's one good way libertarians can move the Overton windows, just to say, hey, look, you can have your totalitarian scheme. We're just not into it.
I like it. All right, Dan, to you. Is it becoming harder to live independently of government?
Ooh, I think that's a tricky question. I think in a lot of ways, yes, but I think also in a lot of ways, we're still tricked into going along with it, thinking it's our only option. Stephen just brought up the TSA photo thing, right? A lot of people walk through TSA and they're like, okay, just look into the camera. And you're like, I don't want to look into the camera. Like, okay, I guess just look into the camera. Like, it's just like, oh, we're following orders here. You can tell them you want to opt out. And I've even seen people argue with them saying, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And they say, you have to, until they say the magic words, opt out. Because like, I guess like their education, they hire people who don't know the similarity between the word opt out and I don't want to. But there are a lot of systems that you can opt out of. I've opted out of Social Security and income tax. I've opted out of driver's licenses and car registration. But it's not easy, and I still get harassed for it all the time by the government. So there are a lot of systems that, especially the way this government is designed, because they like to keep the appearance of we have all these rights and freedoms. So like there's constitutional limitations. So what they've done is they've actually created this complicated system of tricking us into going along with a lot of the programs that they have that we really don't need to. And I mean, there's so many examples. Like if a cop asks you like, hey, you don't mind if I search your car, do you? Most people will say, yeah, go ahead. I'm not hiding anything, right? And it's absolutely nonsense because like, I mean, first of all, they can plant drugs. Maybe someone else dropped something in your car, but you've just given them an opportunity to open all your bags, dump all your crap out all over the inside of the car, and you're going to have to clean it up. So worst case scenario, you don't get a ticket for having something illegal. You don't get arrested, but they still put you through this process, which is really, really, really annoying. And you can refuse just by saying, no, I don't consent to that. But most people are just too afraid. So I think there's a lot that we can push back on the government. It's just that people, they're too afraid to. But the more we push back, the more they're afraid to start creeping out with all this bullshit, like the what is it? The kill switch that they're putting in the cars. People like it's absolute nonsense, but people are just like, oh, but it's for safety. If it saves one life, it's okay. It's okay. So, that's kind of where we are. If we don't push back, we're screwed.
Totally agree. All right, Alex, to you. Has government made self-sufficiency harder?
All right, guys. Reminder, I'm sharing my earnings with you. So let's go in chat. Has government made self-sufficiency harder? Not really. Well, yeah, I mean, because they incentivize for a lot of people who, aren't ambitious, the whole welfare state, right? Or welfare system. So to some extent, wait, you guys need to show the question on the bottom because I forget real quick too. Has it made self-sufficiency harder? Yeah, no, not really, but yeah, kind of, sort of. I don't know. Just vote for me. Thank you. I'll fix all your problems.
I like how you think we have a tech budget for this show and we can move stuff around. Like I barely can get this part of it to work at all, but I'll write down your idea for the show. All right, Steve, back to you. The category is parallel systems. Is competition with government healthy?
Is competition with the government healthy? Absolutely. I think anytime you can compete with the state, it's a win. I know education is obviously I think the big one, at least in Florida right now, and probably other places as well. The question as to private and charter schools are going completely homeschool. That competes with the government, and it's actually causing a lot of changes, not only culturally but within the legislature, to to move towards this bifurcated model where these other types of schools are more accepted. It takes away from the state. It takes away from the resources because people are not willing to give those resources to the state when it comes to these things. So whatever we can make the government irrelevant through creating parallel systems such as cryptocurrency, Bitcoin. I mean, heck, people were buying RuneScape gold and World of Warcraft, currency in Venezuela and Argentina during the collapse because it was competing with the government's model and it just made more sense, or gold and silver. Whenever you compete with the government on terms of security, by having your own security, by knowing how to use a firearm, by being trained, or working together as a community. A big one down here is, quite frankly, in South Florida, is disaster response. We saw it with Helene up in North Carolina as well, where FEMA was basically non-existent. Government didn't really step in. It was the private sector that stepped in. Helicopters, private pilots flying people into and out of disaster zones, dropping off medication, moving resources around. And there's a lot of charities and different people that I know that have come down to the Keys before and set up shop for months, food, water, assistance with insurance compliance to get what they need. All these things are parallel systems, which I think is what the question was, that compete with the government. And so whenever we can create our own institutions that make the state irrelevant, we take away their power and authority. One of my favorite Bastiat quotes was, if the socialists would say that we didn't want people to eat if we didn't want the government to grow food. So just the fact that we have a free market in food, unlike in places like Cuba, competes with the government's ability to ever, Mamdani, for instance, get into the grocery industry. So whatever power, whatever resources, whatever we can provide that isn't run by the state prevents the state from getting that market share a little bit. And whatever we can do to take away that market share is also a great thing. So we do want to have our own institutions as much as possible to basically make the government even less relevant than it already is.
All right, follow-up question. Could the government have ever come up with square hamburgers?
No, never, because we don't cut corners.
There you go.
They would have made
Excellent.
a pentagon.
And shout out to Pat Ford with Libertarian Mutual Aid. They helped us out in Florida too. I think mutual aid and private aid is the way to go. So great answer. Thanks, Steve. Back to you, Dan. Are parallel institutions becoming necessary?
I prefer perpendicular institutions. Yeah, no, they're absolutely necessary, but of course they're illegal in most cases. The only, certain ones are there, but they're very few. And there's some big ones too. So let me explain. There's you have banks, right? Banks are like banks now are just basically franchises of the Federal Reserve. But you can have credit unions, which they're allowed to skirt some of the rules, but they still have to follow a bunch of the rules. So they're still kind of acting on behalf of the government. They don't have to use FDIC. They can use private insurance, and they have some other rules where they're not normal banks. But and then there's other things like the post office, right? It's illegal to compete with the post office. Like you should see that nobody even thinks about it. Like, why would you even do that? But you should see the threat letters that some people have gotten for operating little small local post offices to deliver, courier services or whatever in their neighborhoods, getting threat letters from the federal government. We're going to shut you down and send you to prison for 1,000,000 years because we got to get our 27 cents or whatever, just probably like 80 cents or whatever for now for a mail postcard. But yeah, it's like it's the only place where it's okay to have parallel systems to the government. It's like the stuff either they don't care about or they don't understand. So like the internet is largely unregulated, even though they're trying to regulate it now, even though they have no idea what they're doing. They've tried to regulate crypto, knowing absolutely no idea about how it works. They're trying to regulate these when they see other people making money. But of course, that's the thing, right? Like they don't really generally regulate lemonade stands because there's not a whole lot of money in that. And I see a lot of people, this is a really interesting point. I see a lot of people complain about third world nations and say, yeah, the reason they're third world nations is because their governments don't tax them enough. No, their governments don't tax them because they don't have anything for the government to steal. And so it works the same way in parallel systems, right? The government's not going to try to regulate it unless they see like, oh, there's actually a lot of money there and we understand how it works and we want a part of it, or we want to control it because we can use it to our benefit, right? So yeah, but they're absolutely necessary, and we need to keep pushing back, and we need to like push to maintain them, because if we let the government destroy them, all we're going to have is the post office, which, you know, yeah, sometimes the post office is okay at delivering some stuff, but at the end of the day, when they screw up, you're kind of screwed. You're left hanging, and there's, you know, it's a crappy system. So yeah, let's not let the government have a monopoly with anything.
I agree. All right, Alex, to you. Will parallel systems grow faster in the future?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's like Moore's law says that like technology just like evolves more rapidly or gets more efficient, like gets more cheaper or whatever every so um, whatever it is. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? So parallel systems are going to I mean, like look at Uber is a good example, right? There's so many ways that we could you know, provide alternatives to all the different services that government does. And the more and more we do that, right? Uber for everything, just like connect people to do peer to peer and cut out the middleman. And again, with like apps and stuff, and now with AI, anybody can just is like a developer and stuff, right? So yeah, like liberty in our lifetime has been like such a pipe dream for libertarians for like, you know, the last 3 generations. And now with all the technological tools, it's like it's actually possible. So don't be apathetic. You know, a lot of us, our apathy was cured by Ron Paul, and then it's now been like, you know, uncured or whatever. We got like apathetic again, I feel like, as a liberty movement. But like, just look around at all these tools, right? Like, shout out to the sponsor, Zano. Like, I know that uh, that is such an important part of like freedom, right? Is decentralized private money. So yeah, let's go. They're going to get faster. We're getting there. 200 to
I
myself.
like it.
Is that allowed?
Yeah. Moore's law doubles or becomes obsolete in 7 years. I learned that in college 100 years ago. So, all right.
Nice.
Enter your scores in the chat if you've not done so already. Let's double some scores or make somebody obsolete. Let's see. Where are we at here? Points to Nekhaila. Government relies solely on force. Taxation is extortion. Points to Stephen. 50 to Behrman for the hat. 100 to Dan for the cool hat change. 100 to Alex, non-consensual government and buying my vote. Points to Steve, great examples. Points to Stephen, Leviathan, and all the big words. Points to Dan for NOTA should be on the ballot, as well as dissolve the government. Love that so much, I can't even tell you. 100 to Alex, people already govern themselves. One size fits none. Oh, that might be Dan. That doesn't count. You guys can't be nice to each other. This isn't none of that kumbaya bullshit. I like Uncle Vito. The more he answers, 200. Minus 14 to Nekhaila for pondering with the Ron Paul again, but 181 for the Ron Paul. 100 to Alex for the anarchy answer. What's up, Tough Love? Check out Tough Love Records. Love them so much. 175 to the Rattlesnake for opting out of government extortion. 100 to Alex, people govern themselves. Can I opt out of Steven's seventh part of his answer? Minus 23. I love Steve's answers. I don't know who's giving him stuff other than Woodcraft, so just ignore him. 200 to Steve for the homeschool plug. Oh, that's Kay too. What's up, Kay? 100 to Dan for opting out explanation. 100 to Steven for his intellectual answers and still keeping it simple. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Follow Jim Lee, not Woodcraft. 200 to Dan, I don't consent. 200 to Alex for sharing his points with us. Can I hoard those for next time I'm on? No, Amity. 200 to Alex for yeah, no, vote for me. 100 to Dan for actually opting out of driver's licenses. 200 to Dan for sending us a pallet of liquid freedom drinks. Oh, that's Donnie. What's up, Donnie? One of our greatest warriors out there. 200 to Steve, take away resources or make the government irrelevant. We compete with them. 132 to Stephen for bifurcated. 100 to Stephen for doing a good job managing the convention. Yeah, that was a tough job, and you did an excellent job at it for sure. Especially where you called people wimps or whatever that was. That was one of my favorite moments. 200 to Steve for being a jock and not a theater kid. Oh, there's the exact quote. Right on cue. Thank you, Woodcraft. Being a jock and not a theater kid. Nerds. For the record, I'm a nerd. That's true. 100 to Steven for the good joke. That was not a knock on Wendy's. Would you like to explain this, Steven?
Oh, any chance I can to bring up Wendy's is a point well taken. So
yeah, we love
always in order.
Steven more than the rest of us, but we all love Wendy's for sure. All right. Perpin, what institutions, Dan? Oh boy, -8. Oh boy. You actually elicited an oh boy. That was good. 100 to Alex for Uber for everything. All right, let's check out the scores here. All right, and Steven's still in the lead, 26-39. Dan's just behind, 23-02, and Alex 21-07. Your communism thing is not working out, Alex. Just FYI.
I'm saving my energy for the last lap. You guys are spending all your good answers on the first. You're gonna get tired.
That's
Don't worry. I'm always got a strategy.
This is the World Cup of politics.
There you go.
If this doesn't work, then I'll just use all my stock accounts. Just kidding.
There you go. All right, Stephen, to you, the category is the new financial gatekeepers. Do financial gatekeepers have too much power?
Do financial gatekeepers have too much power? Well, depending on the definition of financial gatekeeper, which could just mean the banks. I know that they're in Aaron Day had a really scary podcast about this. So if you go to Try Liberty and actually watch it, I was like really depressed at the end of it because it wasn't a pretty picture as to where we're heading with CBDCs and even cryptocurrencies that are being stable coins that are being co-opted by the government as basically de facto CBDCs, central bank digital currencies. The fact that your credit card transactions are coded. So if you buy guns and ammo on a credit card, that is linked back to you. If you have a certain profile in the future, Palantir could have a profile on you and decide that you're more likely to commit pre-crime, and it's not good for your social credit score. So you got to be careful what you say, what you buy, who you associate with. So by those standards, everyone in this on this show right now is probably negative 100 million social credit score will be sent to Puerto Rico. So yeah, the financial gatekeepers are making moves to make money digital. It's going to be a China-like system that I think is already 10 years ahead of us in terms of its dystopia and getting worse and worse. A sort of Black Mirror like system that we're sleepwalking into. So what can you do? Cash, privacy coins like Xano, like Zcash and Dash, and really just trying to do things, being more self-sufficient, getting to know people, buying using cash to make transactions or Venmo or whatever, things that the government doesn't really see. If you have another passport, put some money away in another country where Uncle Sam can't see it, whatever you can do. But the walls are starting to close in a little bit. The financial gatekeepers are a big problem that libertarians need to be on the forefront about.
Absolutely. Great answer. I'd add Freedom Dollar to that, a stable coin, but totally private, built on the Xano technology. Also, you can get the debit cards that work with Xano too. So you could just, fill them up with Xano, and then it's totally anonymous as well. So great points. Yeah. And also Aaron Day is a little scary. I will give you that. And totally smart, totally right. A little scary too. All right, Dan, to you. Are financial institutions becoming political actors?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, everything they do is controlled by the government. So, you say the wrong things, you're debanked. That's happened to a lot of people, a lot of big activists. I don't know if Edward Snowden has a bank account, but I doubt it. of course is he still in Russia? I don't know. So you can't send money back and forth. But I do want to say that there's another, this is something that came out of my 3D printer. I haven't heard anyone mention Monero on this show, but Monero is, that's my favorite privacy coin actually. And I've got two, I just finished setting up my second miner today. So I've got 2 miners going at my house. And what's really great about this is it's a system that everyone can kind of create all over the internet and they can't stop it. Like I actually have, so people who don't know me, I spend most of my time in Mexico. I have a bank account here. I had a bank account with this bank, which was one of the banks that when Trump got back into office, or maybe it was while Biden was, so anyways, they created this whole thing and said, oh, we're going to shut down certain banks in Mexico and we're not going to allow the US to send money there because of money laundering, supposedly. All their anti-money laundering stuff is really just about tracking transactions so they can tax us. But I had my account with one of those banks and I wasn't able to send money to myself. I was able to access the money within Mexico, but I wasn't able to send money to myself from the US to Mexico. So I started looking more at crypto. How can I get my crypto? Because crypto, I can get it anywhere in the world. How can I get it into my Mexican bank account? Well, it turns out that I have to go through this KYC process, and a lot of countries only allow certain types of accounts to be opened for certain residents. So even if you look at something like Coinbase, Coinbase will not allow you to open an account in Mexico as a US citizen. They make you upload all of your identification. And if you are a US citizen, they make you open a US bank account and you have to connect it to a US bank. This is really important because what they're basically doing is they're saying you can only transact with institutions that are controlled by the federal government. And the federal government is then using their system through SWIFT and the Federal Reserve System and the International Monetary Fund to control all these, to put political pressure on all of these banks all over the world to control them to follow the same rules. So basically you can walk into a lot of banks in a lot of countries, and the first thing they'll say is, oh, you're a US citizen, we need you to fill out a W-9 form. Why? We're not anywhere within their jurisdiction. Why would you ask me to fill out that form? And the reality is the government has ties all around the world for this. And it's only a matter of time until, they start reporting citizens from every other country back to their home countries when they start taxing all of their foreign income and everything else. So it's absolutely crazy how much control these guys have. And we need to start pushing back and using those alternative systems, but also just refusing to participate as much as we can and pushing back and letting them know this is not right. Because, like I said, we can complain about it on Twitter all day. Excuse me, X. But what does that do? The politicians don't care. They're going to keep moving the ball forward. They're going to keep shutting down any crypto they can't control. Monero is one that they've delisted from pretty much every single platform. You can still get it on Kraken, but otherwise you have to use DeFi just to get it from another coin. And that's because they know they absolutely cannot trace that. So they're really threatened by this stuff, and these are the ones they try to outlaw. So we just have to keep pushing back. We have to keep using them and let them come and take us and challenge that and say, you can't arrest me for using Monero or some other privacy coin in a transaction that you didn't approve, because I'm still an American. I'm still a human being. I still have rights. I still have freedom. And you as a government do not have the authority to just at will just come in and say, we don't like that transaction. You're going to go to jail for it.
Yeah. Great points. All right, Alex, to you. Have financial institutions become unelected rulers?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, being debanked, but we have answers to it now. I always look at the bright side. So if I'm gonna answer with a negative thing, it's yes, financial institutions I mean, even somebody as famous as Kanye can get deplatformed and debanked, and I've been debanked, deplatformed. But we have crypto, so we have alternatives, and we've had alternatives for a while now, right? We were even ahead of the curve with crypto apps before Apple Pay was a thing. This technology has already existed, so people just need to well, it hasn't been easy to use, but thanks to stuff like Freedom Dollar, right? We have a stable coin now because to use crypto as money, the price fluctuates and stuff. So stable coins are now the thing that is a big deal in crypto, but it's such a Trojan horse because they're all, total surveillance coins that are freezable and centralized. But I think Freedom Dollar is the first private stable coin, right? Like Monero is absolutely awesome, but the price fluctuates, right? Zano even, but Freedom Dollar built on Zano, it's pegged to $1, so we could actually use crypto as money now. And but yeah, like people, you can post the wrong thing. There's the meme, oh, delete your tweets to try your transaction again. Your transaction's been declined. Delete your hate tweets or whatever. That's like a real thing. Like people have actually been, targeted for this stuff. You don't hear about it a lot, but yes. So let's bring back that Occupy Wall Street spirit. And let's use the alternatives, people. Let's go. We didn't have them back then, but we do now. So let's go.
I like it. Agree with all that for sure. All right. Stephen, to you, the category is the future of cryptocurrency, and it's brought to us by our friends at Zano, the aforementioned Zano. Stephen, will crypto be more important than gold within 20 years?
That's an interesting question. So Bitcoin started in about 2008, I believe was the Genesis block. So it's been almost 2 decades, and we can see how far Bitcoin has gone in the last 20 years. I think when Nord Stream got blown up and when accounts were frozen, the Russian accounts were frozen by the West, that signaled to the world something very important, which was the U.S. cannot be relied upon as being a neutral intermediary, a sort of financier center of the world, and neither can England as well. So what we see right after 2022 is we saw crypto increase, we saw gold increase. The volume is just absolutely insane and keeps getting more and more every single year, regardless of the price fluctuation. So more people are using crypto to move money around, to have a safe haven asset that can transcend borders and governments and all these different things. So depending on the situation in 20 years, I absolutely do think crypto is going to be more important. Now, which cryptocurrency is going to be the most important? Will it be Bitcoin? I'm long on Bitcoin. I understand there's in the crypto community, people are concerned, especially with the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing now we've come to find out about. I've actually debated some of the Bitcoin core developers back in 2012, 14-ish era. Could have been one of those guys. I didn't really like the guy. We debated Bitcoin maximalism versus the altcoin community uprising. And I was on the altcoin side. So bottom line is it going to be privacy coin? Which coin's gonna win out as what we would prefer as libertarians as the cryptocurrency of choice in 20 years? I do think it's going to be more important. I don't know in what form. I think things are going to be more streamlined for normies and regular people to be more institutionalized. And I think that it is going to be combined with some government stuff, unfortunately, especially with the rise of this sort of CBDC type system. So there's some scary aspects to the importance of crypto, but very important. I've always been very, very long on the Monero, the Zcash, the Zano, the Freedom Dollar. The privacy coins, I think, are really undervalued by the institutional investor. It's something that people can really look at as a sort of a long-term investment when things do hit the fan. With that said, I think gold is still very, very important. It's anonymous. It's easy to transport. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. And gold is one of those things that I think it's been around for thousands of years. It still doesn't maintain its value. So a healthy, prepared portfolio would be, of course, if you think inflation is going to get worse, if you think the geopolitical situation is going to get worse, then that's good for both gold and cryptocurrency. And I think gold is actually, price-wise, is much better as a long-term investment, but I think both are very important.
I like it. All right, Dan, to you. Is government regulation the biggest threat to crypto?
Interesting question. It's probably, yeah, I would say yeah. I think, what is a threat to crypto? I mean, you could say the security of a blockchain could be a threat to crypto. I don't see that as a tremendous threat. I mean, Stephen was talking about, there's all kinds of different coins out there. I think one mistake a lot of people make is that they say, Bitcoin is the thing. Bitcoin is the god money now, where it's all about Bitcoin. Forget gold, forget silver, forget dollars, everything else. And they look at it as an investment. A lot of people, right? They don't even look at it as money. They look at it as a store of value. I'm going to buy a bunch of Bitcoin, and in 30 years when my kids go to college, I'll be able to pay it like it's nothing. And I think we're kind of looking at that wrong, or the question of what's going to come out on top. I think the reality is, if you're saving, if you're trying to store and save value for the future, diversify. There's gold and silver are great. Crypto is great. Bitcoin is great. Altcoins are great. A lot of them are kind of garbage, but trying to figure out if there's only going to be one in the future is trying to say okay, well, which one of the stocks is going to survive 100 years from now? And it's like, there's going to be a whole market of stocks. Those are all there to stay. They all perform different functions, and blockchains actually perform different functions. So is the government going to try to regulate them? Yes, but at the same time, they're public ledgers. So there's not really anything they can do. All they can do is regulate the on-ramps and the off-ramps, and they can try to track it. Like this guy, I think it's Pritzker, just signed a new 2% crypto tax. So any transaction that's conducted in Illinois is going to have a 2% tax on it. But how are they going to know whether the transaction was conducted there unless they're spying on people and saying oh, I see you opened a little cafe and you accept Bitcoin. Well, we can see your public address and we can see, what transactions are going through there. But all that's going to do is push people to say, okay, well, we're going to accept Monero or a privacy coin instead, or an altcoin, something that they can't trace, or maybe just an altcoin that they don't know how to trace. I mean, realistically, if you started accepting Doge, all the people who are out here creating these platforms to trace Bitcoin, Doge is just going to be just as traceable. But is the software already written for that, or is it one of those things where they're just going to be like, it's not worth our time to dig into that blockchain, right? So there's really a lot of different options that we have, but again, it comes back down to just pushing back against the government and saying, we're not going to play that stupid game. We're already paying a tax on the gains we're making from these transactions. We're already paying the business taxes, the business licenses, the property taxes. We're paying all of these taxes on this business. And now you want to charge an extra 2% because we accepted crypto instead of a credit card where the bank was going to take 2 or 3% instead? Who are you? You didn't create. We're paying the banks 3% because they created the system to make it easier for one person to give us money and stick it in our bank account. What the hell did you do with blockchain to entitle you to 2% of that transaction when you're already stealing everything else, right? So I think it is a threat, but it's not that big of a threat if people understand our power to push back.
Totally agree. Point of clarification, just to make Stephen cringe a little bit. It's actually a 0.2% tax, but you're absolutely right. Pritzker is absolute trash, and one of the main reasons I left Illinois. So, but the rest you were spot on with. So great answer.
Still
Alex,
too much.
Yeah, still too much. It's still theft. All right, Alex, has cryptocurrency already proven its usefulness?
Yeah. For sure. A lot of people actually live off of it, on a day-to-day basis. I know, what's his name? Joel Valenzuela, the Dash guy. He's been living on crypto full-time, 100% for a decade, I think, or more. And I've been doing it, pretty much for the most part. Yeah. But so, yeah, it's already proven its usefulness. We can actually send money instantly with the right type of blockchain tech. And so that's pretty cool. And like I said earlier about there's other use cases to blockchain besides cryptocurrency. So I think that is kind of the stated point that we used to say back in the day with the early days of Bitcoin, money is just the first app of Bitcoin. And I still believe that that's totally true. I think, blockchain can be used for social media, data storage, all kinds of stuff. So, and these apps already actually exist too. So, yes, it's proven its usefulness. Check out Bitcoin and Zano and Monero, and you'll experience it for yourself.
Totally agree. Yeah, I think Joel Valenzuela is at 15 years. I think Aaron Day's at 10 years. Completely debanked and just crypto. I mean, they're They went through the tough parts, so we don't have to follow their lead on that for sure. All right, Stephen, back to you. The category is technocratic governance. Is technocracy replacing representative government?
That's a very good question. And another thing that Aaron Day scared the hell out of me with, which is the fact that Elon's dad is actually a technocrat from Canada. Or maybe it was his grandfather, but I think it was his father was a technocrat. And the technocratic elites, you know, the Silicon Valley types, the Palantirs, the Sam Altmans of the world, they are using the state for their bidding to basically enact their vision of the world, that it should be run by the technocrats. And of course, they need Washington to be able to carry that out. And Washington has been acquiescing to their demands. And we've seen that in the legislation, especially when it comes to things like CBDCs. But even more than that, I mean, Palantir just moved its headquarters to Miami, Florida. And that's a Black Mirror future if I've ever seen one. So a lot of these big tech companies and their philosophies are ingrained in politics in a very powerful way. The sort of boomers of DC, the Lindsey Grahams of the world, and you know, all these people that are practically dead, if not already dead, are being used as tools for the power of the technocratic elite, and their systems are what's going to shape society potentially over the next few decades. And without a counterbalance, that could be a very uncomfortable future. So it's important to be vigilant of that and to realize that this is a philosophy by a certain class of people. Just like you have the neocons, you have the technocrats, and so they're taking their bite of the pie in DC, and they are becoming an oppressive force. And that not to say that not every person who uses technology is an evil person or who has a lot of money or power or influence, but there's definitely those that are more comfortable of using the state to achieve their means than others that we need to be very weary of.
Definitely agree. And I should have mentioned next week, I think we have Aaron Day on, Joel Valenzuela, and Sal the Agorist, Sally Mayweather. So that'll be a fun one. All right, Dan, to you. Do experts overestimate their ability to manage society?
Absolutely. Yeah, everybody knows. I mean, everybody knows the right way to do everything, right? You can walk down the street and throw a rock and hit someone who thinks they know the best way government or society should function. It's a part of our human nature to believe that we can control things if we just had enough power. And what we're doing is we're trusting politicians who say, hey, I know how to solve this problem. And we're giving them power. And then we're expecting them to solve the problem that they have no idea how to solve. It's a really interesting problem. I think there's a great book called In Defense of Chaos, and it's written by a chaologist who understands that, like, basically for every single atom in the universe, it would take an enormous amount of computational power to predict what that atom is going to do in the next 5 seconds. So now if you consider that there's 100 trillion, however many atoms there are in the universe, if you were to predict what would happen in the universe 5 seconds from now, you'd have to calculate every single atom in the universe, right? And to build a computer with using all those atoms is an impossible task. It's the amount of computation needed to understand how the universe works is beyond the limitations of what's actually in the universe. You just have to let the universe be the computer and play out and see what happens in 5 seconds. But politicians think they're smarter than the universe, and they're smarter than the most advanced quantum computers, and that they know if they pull this string over here and do this thing over here, that they're going to create this outcome and everything's going to be perfect and they can do exactly what they want. But they're not taking into consideration the hundreds of millions of people that have to go along with this, or the hundreds of millions of people that are not going to go along with it, or are going to do something to try to sabotage it because they don't like the plan or they don't want what they're trying to do. There's so many variables to this. And then there's just the unknown variables of like, well, what if it's just not going to work? What if we put this paint at the bottom of the pool and it turns into mold? There's so many things that people just don't know. And you can hire all these experts who have done similar things, but every new time you're trying to do something new at a bigger scale, there's all kinds of questions that people don't know. And sure, maybe there's ways to redo it again and try to correct it, but then you're running into problems. Well, oh, that was a politician. We can't trust him. He screwed up last time. So you're not going to get that second chance a lot of the times. So too many politicians get that second, third, fourth, fifth, 500th chance, and we keep giving it to them, and they still keep proving to us that they can't do it, but we keep giving them that chance anyways. But yeah, it's part of a human nature that we think we can do that, but we're actually really stupid animals when it comes down to it. So stop trusting all these people with all these grand plans that they have, because there would have been a high-speed rail in California by now if they really knew what they were talking about.
Excellent. All right, last question of the night to you, Alex. Should experts have more power than elected officials?
Well, obviously, the elected officials are the experts, so I don't understand the question. No, should experts? I mean, it's like a funny question because, like, experts according to who? Like, we just went through this whole experts debacle a few years ago with COVID, right? Trust the experts, and now look what happened. So should experts have more power than what, politicians? Yeah, like if they're real experts, of course, absolutely, right? Like entrepreneurs already do. I mean, like business people, capitalists, I think already do have more power than politicians. And so it should stay that way.
All right.
But even more so, even more so. And now's your last chance to give me points in the live chat. Let's go. Thanks, everybody. This was awesome.
All right. Enter your scores in the chat. Tell us who you thought won. Tell us what you thought of the show tonight. Let's jump in the chat one last time here. And a zillion points to Amity, me, and Terry for putting up with his Luddite ways. No, we love you, Jake. Check out Tough Love Records. 1 point to Alex for the turtle, not the hair strategy. 200 to Steven for plugging other Liberty podcasts. 100 to Wendy's for the Baconator. All right. 200 to Dan for the shout out of Snowden. 100 to Dan for money laundering. Woodcraft. Oh, this is a long one. The Savannah Bananas lost to the Indiana Clowns 5-2 in the time that Steve and Dan finished their first question this round. 200 to Alex. Oh boy. 200 to Dan for all the crypto education, but minus 50 because I understood none of that. I think that's on you, Amity. 200 to Dan for financial guidance. 200 to Alex for world traveling. 191 to Alex for the Kanye mention, plus Ryan Woodcraft is a psychopath. Marcus from Black Powder Podcast is finally here. I can start the show now. Thank you for that, Marcus. 200 to Alex for delete tweets, then try your transaction again. 100 to Alex for the social credit score. Oh, good. Marcus is here. Now we can finally debate the benefits of farmers markets versus, here we go, black markets. 200 to Alex. 200 for duh. 146 to Nekhaila. Gold is important. 200 to Steven for the crypto knowledge. How about 22 to Alex? My least wild dream come true. 111 to Alex because I cannot handle his wildest dreams. Give me 220. Oh, that's now I had no idea what the hell I was talking about for the last 5 of these. That makes more sense. 200 to Alex for crypto living. 100 Monero points to Dan. Coke and take it. 100. Yeah, there we go. 200 to Steven and his Black Mirrors. 100 to Steven for recognizing good questions. 100 to me for asking them. 100 to Steven. 200 to Dan for talking about atoms. 199 to Alex for being part of the emo caucus. Is that true?
They added me to the live chat, and I think the only qualification is that you admit that you're an emo. And so I guess I'm
just
doing
say
it
yes.
now. I'm an
Just
emo.
say yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I'll take the points.
200 to Dan for stating that politicians think that they know what will work. And another 199 to Alex for ending Monty Python style like he started. 200 to Alex for the counterintuitive answers. I did enjoy those. Politicians use experts to influence and give politicians excuses to pass unconstitutional laws. Minus 50 to Alex for not pointing this out. All right, let's see where we
Damn it.
ended
I'm
up
gonna
here.
regret that forever.
Oh, a little flip flop at the end here. Dan won it, 37.52. Steven just behind, 36.85. And Alex came close, offering to be people's wild dreams with 36.09.
This is
All right,
bullshit.
Alex.
You gave them all the easy questions.
This is the first time I didn't get nuked.
First time on the
Oh
show,
yeah,
Alex.
what's
What'd
a
you think?
nuke? Wait,
Yeah, nobody
there's
got
a nuke
nuked.
option. I could have
Oh well, I
nuked
guess
you guys.
we got a peace. We got a peace deal with Iran, so there's no more nukes.
Well, so I
Nice.
take stuff out when I do like the live show and stuff like that, and then I forget to put it back in. So the rules change based on like whether I remember to update the slides. So it's but nobody nuked anybody, so that actually did not happen. So
Mitch
all right, Alex,
failed
third.
to nuke us.
Yeah, all right, Alex, third place. What'd you think, man?
I think that I told you, like in Michigan last month, this is the best show right now with the most brilliant concept. And maybe we can introduce some sort of more debate factor. I'm gonna have stronger opinions next time and try a different strategy. But you guys are amazing, and this was fun. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Check out Alex on X. He is Alex J. Vidal, and his rap group is Freenauts Rap, freenauts.com. And he is the producer of the
Just
Try Liberty
Freenauts.
podcast, which is at
That's
Try
cool.
Liberty on YouTube, Spotify. Appreciate you, man. And all right, second place to Stephen Nekhaila. What did you think, man?
Well, one of these days I'll win first place. But it was a great time as always. Always a great time. Always a good vibe. Great folks. Maybe one day we could just role play as like different parts of the political square. So like Alex could be like a libertarian left. I'll be like a communist. You know, Dan can be the right. And you get a real communist to pretend to be a libertarian, and we'll play the role. I think that would be pretty exciting. But no, it was great. Had a fun time. Mitch Connor failed to nuke either I or Alex. So. Yeah, we survived, and another one on the books.
Did you ever see the Halloween episode where Kyle and Amanda dressed up and did communists? That was the
No,
Halloween episode.
I did not.
Oh, it was. I couldn't keep a straight face the whole time. I just laughed the whole time, but it was really good. So we did a little of that. But
Are you sure they were dressed up, or are they normally dressed up as libertarians?
well, I have seen a lot of I've seen a lot of tweets. There's
And happy birthday to Amanda Griffith. Apparently, it's her birthday. Allegedly,
yeah, happy
according to
birthday.
Kyle's tweet.
I've been spreading that rumor for 2 days
Happy
falsely,
birthday
apparently.
to
So
you.
yeah. Check out Steven on X. He's at Steven Nekhaila, and he's the former chair of the Libertarian Party, currently at large. Try out his podcast, Try Liberty, at tryliberty.org. Appreciate you so much, man. You've been awesome in the party and as a friend for the last couple of years. And, really love having you on the show. Thanks for doing this. First place to Dan Behrman. What did you think, Dan?
Yeah, I'm just as shocked as you are. I totally thought I was going to get nuked as usual, but I didn't. Had some awesome competition. Stephen, Alex, great answers to a lot of those questions. Really, this is an awesome show. Free, thanks for putting it together again, as you always do. Yeah, and hopefully you'll have me back on again. I love doing this. This is fucking awesome. And actually, okay, so I was thinking, I'm gonna spill some beans here. Earlier this morning, I was thinking of like, okay, what kind of little jokes can I squeeze in here? And I was totally thinking Monty Python with the whole "I came here for an argument," and then someone said something about Alex with the Monty Python ending, and then after that he said, "I want to make this more like a debate," and I was like, oh man, totally. He should have said, "I came here for an argument." That would have been that, but next
Awesome,
time.
Damn it! All
Missed
hindsight is
opportunity.
2020.
Check out Dan on X at Dan for Texas. His website's Dan for Freedom, where you can find his books. And appreciate you so much being on, buddy. This was a lot of fun. Let's bring Terry back up here. Terry, what did you think?
You know, I enjoyed it, but I really missed talking to the chat tonight, guys. I missed you guys a lot. That's kind of funny. You guys did a great job as always. And Dan, Steve, and Alex, thank you very much for being here. And you're right, Alex, we are good, but we're just getting better. So hang on, there's more to come.
Awesome. And
Let's go.
you can follow Terry and I at X. I'm at Smarter Game Show. She is at Bats T76. Thanks again to our sponsor, Xano, Your Privacy Matters. Choose Xano, the leading blockchain platform that prioritizes confidentiality and security. And if you're new to the space, visit intro.xano.org. Thank you again to all of our subscribers. And you can subscribe to us on X. And if you want to sponsor us, email studio@freedomuncut.com. We'll be in Vegas next month, freedomfest.com. Use the discount code SPIKE100. And we will be at the Midwest Peace and Liberty Festival in August, mplfest.org. Thank you again to everybody, especially those in the chat. You guys make this so much fun. And we will be back Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. We will see you all then. Have a good night, y'all.